All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever applies to you. I am RJ Williams. I am the president and chief strategy officer for Williams Eford Digital Processors. We are a digital payments processing agency. We process credit card, debit card, ACH, EPT payment transactions, as well as cryptocurrency transactions right now currently on a e-commerce basis only to 99% of the global legal businesses that are out there. So, whether large or small, whether mom and pop spot, multinational conglomerate, we can handle the payment processing for those entities. I represent a network that has processed over $20 billion in credit card and debit card transactions, and we are definitely poised and proud to provide transparent and stable processing services across the board using a full suite of hardware and software formations and applications that are tailored specifically to many different industries, including brand new legally compliant payment processing applications for the cannabis industry that I'll definitely share with you guys moving forward here. In order for you guys to understand what we do and function as a processing agency, we first need to give you a simple overview of all the players involved in a credit card or debit card transaction. Of course, you have those four major credit card networks: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. They all establish different schedules of rates and fees and pass those through to the card issuing banks like your Chases and Wells Fargos and others. The networks and issuing bank charge merchant banks and merchant services this pass through rate plus a little bit on top. And they allow providers like Williams Eford the ability to process payments for merchants. In order to accept cards as a form of payment, most businesses will need to sign up with a merchant services provider like Williams Eford. Now, unlike Visa and MasterCard, American Express and Discover brands were issuing their own credit cards. Now, Express they recently um, started allowing a bank or two to issue credit cards on their behalf. Discover issues credit cards via their own Discover Bank. And because of this, they typically have the freedom to charge more per transaction than Visa or MasterCard. You also see there the acquiring or merchant banks, and those are my partners there. An acquiring or merchant bank's sole function is to facilitate the processing of credit cards and other digital payments, as I've explained, on behalf of merchants who need to accept these forms of payment for their goods and services. And you definitely want to be able to do that because not everybody has cash. Merchant processing is responsible for the smallest percentage of the total cost to process a credit card transaction. But despite this, Williams Eford does the most out of all involved in this supply chain that you see here to ensure their clients maintain the lowest card processing and ACH transaction rates across the interchanges. So again, Williams Eford is a philanthropic based and philanthropic focused company, and that up to one third of our net revenue is donated to charities and causes suggested by our company or selected by our clients, residually and monthly in perpetuity. Our goal is to leverage the global business need for all merchant processing services, or I should say, the global business need for merchant processing services to residually feed charity, community, and small businesses around California, the United States, hopefully someday the globe. Our goal is to make that one third we donate progress to 100% that we donate within the next 7 to 10 years and have it serve as an ongoing, ubiquitous, residual passive donor to causes, charities, communities, and neighborhoods everywhere. Our inspiration. Our inspiration is Paul Newman. Um, I love the idea of him being able to, as we're trying to leverage the global need for merchant processing services by companies all over the world. Excuse me, guys. Paul Newman, he leveraged our love of spaghetti sauce and extra virgin olive oil and salad dressing and lemonade, made a great product. And he was able to, from day one, donate 100% of those profits to charity. Now, of course, I'm not as rich as Paul Newman and did not have the fiscal resources. to be able to donate 33 to be able to donate 100% right off the bat, but we can do 33% off of all our net revenue and donate it from day one, client one. And we can do it on this particular scale. So our company has goals, being philanthropic based. We're starting off with 33% of our net revenues from the processing activity that we earn. It's going to charity, community, and small businesses. But as we start adding clients, accumulating business, processing more and more in dollars with regards to credit and debit card transactions and ACH transactions, the more that we're donating monthly, we're going to get to a point where we're donating 100% of everything, net revenue wise, to charity. Our number is $1 billion dollars for our company, but our number is also a separate $1 billion dollars in processing per month that we want to be on slate for doing on behalf of the National Cannabis Party through our National Cannabis Residual Chest Initiative. And I will get to that as well. But as a company, as you see, the more that we process, the more percentage of net revenue we're going to donate until we top out at 1 billion a month that we're processing, which can mean on the smaller end of the spectrum, $500,000 a month based on $1 billion of processing. That's on the low end. Um, but we'll definitely talk about how we could be earning up to 1.25% of all that processing volume. But it will, once we get this up and going, you guys, and we are signing on all these different cannabis companies and companies from different industries and sectors and what have verticals. Um, uh, Once we build this book of business and we're processing all of these dollars per month, it is going to mean a tremendous amount of residual dollars to the National Cannabis Party through this residual chest initiative that I'm conceiving and hoping to implement with the blessing of all of you. Let's talk about a credit card swipe. Every time a card is swiped, the merchant is collecting their revenue or profits from that sale minus a discount rate. Okay. The discount rate applies to all the credit card processing fees a merchant must pay to their merchant service provider, ergo me, to process each payment transaction. So every time a card is swiped or dipped or tapped or used online to make a payment, a merchant is charged. Though it can consist of many more fine components, we can think of it as follows. The discount rate equals the interchange plus rate plus assessment fees. Most merchant processing agencies and bank partners, you guys, they use an interchange plus model for pricing their services for merchants. Our company, we feel it's the most transparent form of billing and the most affordable for merchants, outside, of course, of a cash discount or surcharge program, which the credit card processing rates and charges are being passed on to the customer in a compliant program, which would mean $0 per swipe charged to the merchant. Now, we'll talk about the Interchange Plus size. The Interchange Plus is made up of two components. We talked about the interchange rate, which is passed through and established and determined by the credit card networks and passed through to us. And then, two, the plus portion of that interchange rate and Interchange Plus is that portion of the rate which Williams, Eford, and the merchant and the acquiring bank places on top of that interchange pass-through rate to cover the cost to process each transaction for our customer clients. So this means with that interchange rate, the interchange part of the rate, no matter what company processes your payments, you will pay that same interchange rate. Prices will only begin to differ between assessment fees established usually by sometimes by the issuing bank in part, but usually established by your credit card payment processors and acquiring banks. In the case of Williams Eford, we used a portion of the discount rate we can control and use it to save our clients over their previous rates and fees. The biggest piece of this discount rate will be those interchange fees, which are collected and retained by the credit card issuing banks, and which entities collect which portion is demonstrated in the next slide or a couple of slides up. The assessment fee that you see here, it's added to this interchange plus rate, and it's usually an additional fixed amount, usually no greater than 25 cents, and it is assessed by the merchant processor as a fee for their services. Okay. Interchange fees set by the card brands, they vary widely based on a number of factors that you can see here. We named four, or we'll go over four. The network is important. MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover, they're the four major card networks, and they all charge slightly different interchange rates. As will be noted in a bit, American Express tends to be the most expensive of the group for several reasons. There's also price variation within the individual networks. So, for example, a World Elite type of MasterCard will have different interchange rates than a World MasterCard would. Okay, so that takes us to the fact that the card type is also important. Fees are also impacted by whether the card being used in a transaction is a debit or credit card. Furthermore, the type of credit card is also important. Business credit cards tend to be most expensive to process, followed by rewards based credit cards and regular credit cards closing out that ranking. Also, how the payment processed is important. Whether you, the merchant, swipe the credit card through a reader or punch in the number, key in that number off the credit card directly into the system, it will also impact the fees you are charged for a particular transaction. Credit card networks will also discriminate between online and mobile payments and card present and card not present transactions. In general, we've observed fees on swipe transactions to be the lowest. And finally, merchant category codes also determine what that interchange rate will be. The way in which you categorize your business and each sale you make will also have a direct effect on the interchange you will pay per transaction. While this affects the interchange rate, it rarely does so by more than a few tenths of a percent. Note that trying to classify your restaurant as a ground transportation service to get a lower rate is not a good idea. You'll get caught. Card issuers are still examining data that is being fed to them in each transaction. Any attempted manipulation of a transaction data is sure to be discovered and punished. You can get yourself on a certain TMS list and it will be over for you. So please be careful. Just want to go over this real quick. Just want to let you know but when those credit card fees are collected, who gets what of the pie. The issuing bank, along with that credit card network, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover, they together keep 85% of all the fees. Me and my bank partners, we only get 15% of that. But yet we take on the most risk. Indeed, indeed, we do. Definitely take on the most risk. Okay. All right. This is a little bit geeky, but I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. We just wanted to let you know what happens or what's going on when you pay and swipe at the counter and what's going to happen. Everything that you see right here on this screen takes about 15 seconds or less to complete. This is the operation that takes place when a credit card is swiped, tapped, dipped to pay for a good or service, okay, or during an online transaction. Okay. There are two phases of the transaction. At the bottom, the first one's the authorization phase. At the top is the authentication phase. Once the customer swipes the card or clicks the place order tab online, the merchant sends the credit card details to ourselves, as you can see here. It goes to ourselves. And then once it gets to ourselves, it is then forwarded on over through to the card networks that then request authorization, okay, from the issuing bank who uses rules and other settings to approve the move, quote unquote, of the transaction, moving from the authorization phase to the authentication phase. Okay. At that particular point, you have the issuing banks verifying the card details and making sure the cardholder's account has enough funds or available balance to cover the purchase in waiting. And if so, an approval code or request for another layer of authentication will be sent through to the card network, through to Williams Ether, and then back to the POS terminal or card reader. At that point, the card reader is going to do one of two things. The terminal or POS is either going to ask the merchant for a PIN number, if it's a debit transaction, or generate a receipt for the customer to sign usually in a credit card transaction. Okay, just to give you a little geekiness there. All right. Let's see. So this is basically just want to let you know where the proceeds goes and who retains them from that piece of pie that we saw here, right there. Okay. So basically, we're going to base this off of a 2% flat interchange plus fee, and 1.6 of that 2% is actually the interchange fee that was passed through from the card brands to us. So take a look at the left part of the screen here. The card holder makes their $100 credit card purchase. Okay. Swipes their card. The merchant, they approve the sale, all that good stuff. They retain $98 of that sale. $2, of course, goes to the pie. Okay. And so that actually goes through to where we pick it up. And where we pick it up, we go ahead and process things and what have you. And we make sure we keep 30 cents of that $2. And then the $1.70 keeps moving forward. The card network gets 10 cents, and the issuer, like we said before, who retains about 80% of all that pie, they get $1.60 in this particular example, as you can see here. Talk to you guys about American Express fees really, really quick. American Express is considered the priciest in terms of all credit card processing fees that are passed through to us. Their high discount rates, which often reach 3.5%, are higher than that of competitors like MasterCard and Visa. While more expensive, up until recently, American Express has kept its pricing model simple, meaning that most merchants paid the same high credit card processing fee. American Express's pricing structure is changing, however, with the recent introduction of a card they're calling Opt Blue. The details on Opt Blue, they're scarce, but we do know through this new program, um, American Express there will be structured better and more like its competitors, differentiating more between transactions, merchant category codes, uh, card present or card not present. So they'll be factoring in the same things that Visa and MasterCard use to determine their rates. Okay. Now, while other card issuers will refund the business part of the cost of the credit card processing fees charged to the merchant, American Express did so only when after merchants agreed to paying higher processing fees per transaction. Many hope the new OptBlue program will make American Express a little bit more merchant friendly in that regard. Once any new details are released, we'll make sure we let our clients know about those because um, American Express is just outrageous with how much they're charging for those interchange rates. Why should the cannabis industry, their dispensaries, their brands, why should any industry, any company go with Williams Ether? It is our commitment to lowering the rates and nurturing those low rates. And we 9.5 times out of 10, you guys, when we do a cost savings analysis of a company's current charges to process credit card transactions, let me just tell you, we're 9.5 times out of 10, we're able to beat those rates. But when we talk about nurturing the rates after we lowering them, we speak of our revelation of the ability for merchants' interchange rates to actually be adjusted by the card brands based upon the evidence the merchant shows a consistent and typical average interchange rate of accepting card payments, a proven record of low to non existent chargeback and refund ratios, and other factors. In order to go ahead and be able to nurture those rates, we have deployed and partnered with an independent cost reduction audit firm as part of our client services piece to ensure optimum interchange rates and the savings entitled to merchants in some industries at times are granted. Something we hope to speak to you guys all about in the near future. Okay. Moving on and upward. Williams Eford digital processors with expertise, compliance advisement, and insights from members of the National Cannabis Party has implemented an initiative aimed at generating a perpetual chest of residual dollars based off of Williams Eford's pledge to donate a minimum of 33% of all its net revenues from the processing activity of any company referred to us by members of the National Cannabis Party to facilitate their payment processing needs. what with a confidence that we can again achieve that cost savings over their current cost to accept card payments in store and online. Okay, what is bringing us this particular confidence on a even wider or larger scale is based on this fee increase. Okay, there is a fee increase coming, and that fee increase is going to be imposed to each and every industry and each and every company within those industries starting on April 2022. Okay, Visa and MasterCard. They were supposed to do this last April, but because of the pandemic, the federal government did decide to urge the card brands to postpone this fee increase until April of 2022. So they have decided to do so. The Bloomberg article does detail that, along with one on csnews.com. So if you were to um, go ahead and um, put the words Visa to raise rates 20% in the Google search box there, you'll find the CS News article as well, and the Forbes article as well. And so, because of this fee increase, we have been reaching out to companies throughout all industries to provide a complimentary cost savings analysis, complimentary, straight on us, on all their merchant processing costs to date. The goal being to find at least 20% in savings now in order to offset the 20% in fee increases everybody's going to be imposed on in April. This is accomplished by requesting a copy of 1 to 3 months of their merchant processing statements. The statements contain a ledger of the various interchange rates passed through for each type of credit or debit card used for the purchase and for other factors we covered earlier. From that merchant processing statement, we'll also be able to examine the statements for any unnecessary or ancillary fees that a lot of these shady processors do try to um, levy upon the merchants, including any unannounced fee increases that they might also try to impose. There are abundances and advantages to this type of um, processing or fundraising, I should say. Um, Using our processing services and our donation as a conduit. It's going to give companies a chance to donate to the National Cannabis Party without drawing from company funds to do so. Some companies, small businesses, they would love to have a social corporate responsibility initiative and things that they're doing for the community, but they just don't have the dollars to do so. Okay. But because of Williams Eford's residual monthly donations based upon the net revenue earned from the from processing the client's transactions, that is what's going to feed the residual chest. Okay. So even if they don't have money in their bank account to give to us as a donation, if they trusted us with doing their processing, we're able to save them money on that processing, but also, again, we're donating. And that money is definitely being uh, donated residually just based upon whatever our cut is from the processing based on the pie that you saw. Now, for many industries, merchant processing fees are their highest operating cost outside of labor. So this 20% fee increase is huge for them. It would benefit them so hugely to have a cost savings analysis done to see if the 20% can be saved now. Benefit for companies can be huge. A company with the residual dollars, which to Williams Eford would generate, uh, which Williams Eford would generate for the NCP and residual checks. You guys have to forgive me. I'm kind of brand new at trying to do all of these lengthy type of presentations. How does it all work? Well, all legal businesses are NCP's target. Okay, we can process for any legal business outside of the adult entertainment industry. Our merchant banks don't deal with that. It's too risky. But basically, how it works is that if you guys had anybody that you referred over to us, warm introduction or otherwise, or you just want to let them know how they can get started with having their charges assessed and analyzed, they simply need to submit a merchant processing statement over to us. Give us 1 to 2 or 3 months of their merchant processing statements. Send them on over to me. We will go ahead and do a deep dive and cost savings analysis. As we explain, we break down all the data. and we go ahead and give you a simple report of the savings that you can expect. I'm sorry about you guys. At any rate, we go ahead and process the application, open up the accounts. That process, the underwriting process, takes about an hour or two. A pretty quick process to get merchant services up and going. Barring any need for the underwriters for any additional documentation or information, we then get you up and running, depending upon if you're doing e-commerce or brick and mortar solutions. From that point, I just say that total, it takes about 72 hours, 3 to 4 days, to get everything up and running as far as a merchant account is concerned. We will save you that 25 to 80% in processing with no contracts. There's no early termination fees. We're going to go ahead again and nurture those low rates. And again, finally, we pay it forward. And in this case, we're paying it forward to the National Cannabis Party Residual Chest. Okay. And we're doing it on our company's aspirations and goal initiative, which is here. So we're starting with 33% of the processing, or of the net revenues that we make from the processing, and giving it on over to the NCP. But it's going to be on this scale. The more we're able to process in credit card and debit card transactions and ACH transactions, the more that we're able to process, the more that 33% that we're donating, that's going to go up as well until we reach 1 billion. And then you guys get it all. That is pretty much going to do it for me. I just want to make sure I came through to give you guys a sense of how we do things, what we do, how we feel that leveraging every company's need to be able to accept these forms of payment, how leveraging that to generate fundraising dollars for the NCP is clever, it's slick, it's resourceful. It'll allow a company that does have a budget for giving to give 2 times over. Once just with that straight donation, and it's just and then another just for allowing us to do the processing and saving them the money, for saving them money on accepting uh, debit, credit card, ACH, and crypto payments. I just want to go ahead and let you know we have these amenities for our clients as well. All the hardware and software that we deploy for the different industries and their different needs or what have you, it is PCI security standards approved, compliant, beyond that compliance. 24/7 live expert client services, same day to next day funding once we process those transactions for our clients. The lowest rates with periodic audits from that independent firm I told you about. No contracts, no early termination fees. So many alternative payment solutions available. Definitely want to talk to you guys about crypto payments. I think that that's going to be the wave of the future with regards to how people pay and even how people donate to the National Cannabis Party. I have been long-winded, you guys. I want to thank you guys so much for trusting me and spending this time with me today. And let's go ahead and get started. If you guys have any companies whatsoever, even your own, that can stand to save up to 20, actually from 20 to 80% on the cost that it is charged, that you guys are charged to accept credit, debit card, and all those forms of payment. If you can stand to save that 20 to 80%, which I know you can because of the upcoming fee increases, please send them our way. We will do a free of charge cost savings analysis of their merchant processing statements and give them a recommended course of action, hopefully getting them all signed on with Williams Ether digital processors so that we can go ahead and get that 33 and eventually 100% of net revenues residually to the National Cannabis Party residual chest. I am RJ Williams. I have more videos coming. Any questions for me, please let me know. Thank you guys so much. It's on.